You're listening to Get Out and Drive podcast with John, custom car nerd Meyer, and Shawn, Mr. Sedan Man Sherrill. We'll be bringing you gearheads all the information you've never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
Well, welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Tim Strange. He had a lot to say in the first part of our interview, so we can get with him this time. And he talks about a lot more in depth about his vehicles that he's built in more recent past.
Right. Yeah, it'll be real interesting to hear what he's got to say about all the stuff he's built.
Yep, and a lot of information about what he's built and what he sees in the future of auto restoration and hot rodding.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you want to walk through a little bit and we can talk about some of the cars you've built?
So the picture right there is the Gapit Tool. Every shop always has like a piece of metal, paint sticks with some tape on it, so you're building your gaps on your car. Most of these cars, they don't fit. 30s, 40s, 50s cars, you got to cut all the gaps and make them work and consistent when you're doing a high-end paint job. So kind of come up with this little gap tool, and we get them 3D printed.
Okay.
4 different sizes, and you slide in the gap so you can measure it up, and started selling them during all this lockdown. I think we've sold over 300 of them so far, and our local O'Reilly's regional is going to start carrying them, and a bunch of tool guys. We're going to get them some cool catalog. So it's kind of a cool little thing. It's like every selling thing, it's $19.99. It's small enough to keep in your pocket. And some shops, they just call and order them for the whole shop. So it's kind of a cool little handy thing, and out other guys.
The little square, is that a hole in it so you can put it on your keychain, or how's that working?
No, that's just kind of the logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a square. So
awesome.
They're different colored now. They're gray. That was like the first run of the first 20.
I see.
Now they're gray and logo. I mean, it's all the same, but color up a little bit.
Straight rods ain't dead. What is that? Talk about that for a little bit.
Well, we touched base on the TV world. When I left the Power Block, I probably had a dozen interviews and screen tests and stuff on different shows, and some of them just, when you get the contract, you read the fine print of the contract, what they could make you do whatever. They follow you around for 60 hours a week. They edit it down to a half-hour show with the commercials. It's 18 minutes. They can take anything to make you look like the biggest saint in the world or the biggest jackass in the world.
Sure.
So I just didn't want to do something goofy. I'm still really proud of that give back show that we did, Search and Restore. It's on Amazon Prime now. I think more people watch it now than did the first time, because we can't even hardly answer our shop phone because people wanting cars built for free.
Wow.
Ian Johnson from the 4-wheel drive from Extreme 4x4, he left the Power Block Sense, and then Kevin Tates from the Trucks TV show. They're doing Kevin, of course, or Ian is filming 4-wheeler TV that goes on Motor Trend television.
Okay.
But he also does Big Tire Garage, which is an online social media show. Okay. And Kevin Tates has done Hands on Cars. He's starting his 3rd season now.
Okay.
And we're getting ready to do a 40 Ford build called Street Rods Ain't Dead. I'm going to be the street rod guy, so hopefully this gets rolling. Every year and a half, we'll build a new street rod and film it. It's all social media based. It'll be shared on our major sponsors' social media pages, so that's how you get your big numbers.
Sure.
We kind of need to sign one more sponsor before we actually get going. That's what pays for all the logistics and the camera guy and everything.
Right.
Just the sponsors we have signed right now with their social media followers, it's almost 3 million eyes that show is going to be in front of.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's before. Then after it, there'll be weekly 5-minute episodes that air 12 or 14 weeks in a row.
Okay.
So like Speedway Motors is our major sponsor, and Kicker Audio, and we're working on Royal Purple and a couple other really big ones that really will help the numbers.
Great.
They get that branded content with their logo on it. They own that forever. It's a whole, I could talk about the behind the scenes of TV for hours. And we were at the Power Block. Somebody pays $15,000 to get a 3-minute ad of a how-to of their suspension, and they didn't own any content unless they cut another huge check, and they couldn't even play a video clip in their SEMA booth or on their website or on their social media unless they recut that. That's the world of TV. Well, since there's less people involved and less people to feed, they own the content forever. The next streaming platform comes down that's not Facebook, Instagram, whatever, they can put it on YouTube. They own that forever.
Wow.
So then we control it ourselves. We don't have some high executive in New York telling us what we can and can't do. So we get to control the whole build, the whole sponsors, exactly. I get to pick the colors of the car, I mean, down to everything.
Nice.
Like I say, like the TV world, one year when I was at the studio, we had to do network integrations. And we had a company that came in and said, we got to do this for Spike TV. We have to show pouring this treatment. I don't know if I should say it was Armor All. They go, we want to pour this treatment in the motor and talk about the performance that you get. You know, me as a builder, I'm like, oh, we got new Armor All come out with something new. Mm-hmm. Well, no, the sales guys, that's how little they knew about cars. They wanted me to take that old school Armor All that you put on your tires and your interior. Right. They thought it went in the engine.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And then, the producer said, you can't go tell the boss no. And it's like, well, I'm not going to blow a damn motor up. Right. So that's the world of TV that I don't miss.
Oh wow.
So this way we get to control everything a lot more. So
yeah.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
We're going to build a really traditional 40 Ford, all block Ford, carburetor, Steelies. Something that I fell in love with in the 70s, going to rod runs for my dad. So
definitely. Talking about your sponsors earlier, we've got kind of a list of some of the big ones we talked about earlier. If you want to.
Yeah, we're very lucky. We do a lot of stuff with Jet and Edwards. I've got every piece of equipment that Jet and Edwards Ironworker makes. We work with Miller welders, have been with us since the beginning. My first welder that I bought for myself when I was 17 was a Miller. Speedway Motors is on board with this. McGuire's, Rockstar Energy Drink, of course, Royal Purple Oil, and Industrial Depot. They sell all of our bolts, hardware, grinding wheels. We've been in this for 26 years. We've always performed pretty well with all the cars we've built and taken them to the events and being seen. The magazine market kind of dips up and down a little bit, but we've been in over 350 magazines around the world. And then, of course, being on TV, sponsors kind of like that too.
Oh yeah.
And we've had a really good bounce back, and we have a lot of sponsors that help us but those are our main ones that help us with equipment and monthly stuff. And just thanks to all them. Without all them, I probably still wouldn't have been building cars after I left the TV world.
Great.
All right, now we'll get to some of the cars that you have built.
Are we just going to talk about what's up there? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan, man. Let me kind of walk me through that. That four-door sedan is not outlandish at all. Very oddball vehicle. Talk me through that.
That's probably the last big dollar car that we built that can be out in public. That 52 Buick that I talked about that will probably come up in a picture here in a little bit. That was for a father and son that picked it up after it got stalled in my shop, and we built that car. The father has since passed away. This is the car that the son wanted for his family, for his wife and his two daughters. We built a four-door. It looks pretty mild, but that thing's probably got as much custom bodywork as the crazy custom. Stretched wheelbase. It's got Roadster quarter panels on it. The door gaps are cut. The doors were stretched together to get rid of that gap on the four-door. The grill shell was dropped. The hood's pie cut. The cowl is cut and angled down a little bit. All the door cuts are changed. About the only thing that wasn't changed on that was part of the cowl on the side. The whole back of the car, I didn't give you a picture of that, is all reshaped, and instead of the body tucking in like those do, and the sedans, I kicked it out, kind of like a 33 Ford, built a ducktail, reshaped the whole back of the body. Everything's got a curve. The gas tank's got a curve. The gas tank's, the rear suspension or the rear frame and the gas tank's pushed up 3.5 inches, a notch for the quick change. Things curved and flowed. I cut the roof loose above the drip rails, reshaped all that, rolled lips in it. It just flared up to the flush fit insert that we changed the shape of it and covered it and bolted that in. So yeah, there's a ton of work in that car.
Mm-hmm. Very subtle and beautiful car.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, we've done really well with that. It's been in wheel hub with a cover of street rodder. We got top 5 for America's most beautiful street rod out of Pleasanton a couple years ago.
Okay.
The family used to live in Pleasanton, and they live now about 25 minutes from me, and we hung out at the Street Rod Nationals, and His dad's passed away. He still got his dad's car.
Wow.
Eric when we built that for Eric and Oksana, they were in their early 30s. So that tells you there is still youth in the street rods.
Right.
Someday we're going to build another custom, it seems like, for them.
Okay.
Actually, we're getting ready to do a 88 to 98 Chevy truck for him, driver truck first, and
very nice.
one of them for him. So as his dad a lot of awards, we did a lot of stuff with that Buick, and before we built a car for him, he had Steve Moll build him a 32 Roadster that was a Riddler Grade 8, and it won the AMBR. I want to say 2014 maybe, and the family still owns that car too. But his mom and his sister and all the car collection are right here in Nashville now.
Nice. Talk us through the little yellow Roadster.
We built that. It looks like the date on the picture there. Remember when pictures you used to have to get them developed at the photomat place? It had dates on them.
Yeah, remember when pictures you used to be able to hold them in your hand?
Yeah. And that was back when the Speed Stars, those fiberglass cars that Bobby Alloway came out with Rat's Glass, and my wife wanted a Roadster really bad.
Right.
That had a Heights independent front end, and that was actually the first car that got featured in Street Rodder that had that Heights independent rear end that Heights came out with.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was in Street Rodder and a couple other magazines in 2000. We used to build a car for ourselves every year, nights and weekends, debut it in the spring.
Right.
And sign it up and enter it in the cruise auction Labor Day weekend in Auburn, Indiana.
Sure.
So we didn't sell the car privately during those 5 months we were touring it and getting it shot for magazines. We'd take it out there and sell it.
Right.
And we actually sold that one at the auction along with a couple other ones we sold at that Auburn auction back around 2000 to 2002.
Nice. Yeah, the blue 32 looks very traditional.
That car was, we built that for a gentleman that had a huge car collection. He was the one that was building the museum in Winnemucca, Nevada, that Ralph Whitworth.
Okay.
When he decided not to do the museum, he had, I don't know, over 350 cars, and he sold a lot of the stuff privately. And then they had an auction it was the Icons of Speed and Style auction. It's a Peterson. That was all his collection of cars.
Okay.
This one we redid for him. This was back in the day. This was voted when they did the anniversary of the Dukes at the Roadster Show. This is one of the 75 most significant 32s of all time.
Wow.
This is known as the Pete Henderson Roadster.
Okay.
All right.
And Pete just passed away a year or so ago. He was in his 90s. If you ever heard the story about the guy racing the racehorse for money,
okay,
this is that car.
Wow.
And we restored it to as 19-year-old Pete Henderson got us pictures. He was in his 80s when he did it, but he was 19 when he built that car and sent us a bunch of pictures, and we blew the pictures up. And even like where the wiring harness normally ran through the firewall, that's not where Pete put it. He put it here because it was convenient, or he didn't have enough wire, and we did that as down to period as correct as we could. That car had different eras of, it had chrome and painted headlights and white walls and black walls, and Ralph Whitworth, the owner, picked what stuff that it had at that time. So it was just a healthy flathead with stripped down, and that was done in, I believe it was built in 1940 something, early 40s, I think it was built into this hot rod, and we recreated it for that. It was actually shown on the ground. Well, it wasn't shown, but it was hauled to Pebble Beach the year that they were doing Roadsters.
Sure.
And it come loose in the trailer and bounced around in the trailer, so it didn't really enter the show at Pebble Beach. And then the client actually bought it at Pebble Beach then, and somehow we got to do that car. So
that's
we've
incredible.
done some other historic restorations for some private collectors, and so this was the 32 that we got to do, but we seriously over restored it, so it didn't have interior in it. So this guy, even though Mr. Henderson paintbrushed everything inside, the customer wanted us to slick it all, base clear it, and inside the floor pan, inside the rocker panels, the bottom of the floor, it was just like it was done to go to the Riddler. It was wet sand and buffed anywhere, and it is not fun. Wet sand and buff on the inside of a 32 Roadster quarter panel.
I could see that would be not fun.
Not at all. Some people give you a hard time because you over restore a significant car, but you still got to do what the guy writing the check wants.
Right.
So there in the upper left, that was my 54 Chevy when I first built it as a Pro Street car. That was 94 when we got married. We drove away, did a Pro Street burnout.
Yep.
from the church. That's what it looked like when we first built it and got it in the magazines in the early 90s. That's actually back when a lot of people were not driving their Pro Street cars, and we put 30,000 miles on that car.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Drove it.
Excellent.
That's what we like
everywhere.
to hear.
Yes.
You know, how do you say lucky? When I was 19, when I started building that chassis, I bought a tube bender, built a twin rail round tube chassis.
Yeah.
That was a car I couldn't afford a cross member, so I bent the cross member. I built all the A-arms. I had engineering suspension in college, got out the old books and a Boyd Coddington suspension book and blew up pictures and figured out the anti-dive and everything in the front, built the 4-link. My dad cut and narrowed the drive shaft. Those wheels, the drive shaft never was balanced. The wheels never had a wheel weight on it. And my first chassis, it never had a vibration.
Wow.
You'd go 60 mile an hour, stomp the brakes, it wouldn't pull one way or the other.
Nice.
It's like, I don't know how you say lucky, but that's exactly lucky. You know, I built the chassis table, probably started building the chassis table when I was 18 that I built that car on.
Yeah.
I used that chassis table until I sold it when I moved to Tennessee.
Incredible.
And
Incredible.
The picture right below it, 2002, we pulled it out of storage and re-debuted the car at SEMA that year.
Sure.
That can show you what the difference between just some chrome, some wheels, and some paint breaks. Because I didn't even strip that car down to, that car's never been stripped to bare metal since I built it the first time.
Right.
It was such a rusty piece of crap. I paid $150 for that car. And I'm still like best friends with the people and the son that I bought the car from clear back then. And then the chassis is still the same underneath of it. We put a different cross member underneath the front for air ride.
Right.
Put 20 and 22s on it because that was the thing back then. And
Right.
early 2000s, put them big wheels on it.
Oh, yeah.
Made all the side moldings out of brass and had it chrome, two-toned it. Changed the induction, changed the dash, cut the roll cage out, put back seats there. You know, my wife redid all the interior, put
Right.
chrome bumpers on it. Now that car sits in the Darrell Starbird Hall of Fame Museum in Oklahoma on display.
Nice. Yeah, I remember going down to Starbird Museum and I saw your big pretty face on the wall.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. 2014, I got inducted in the Hall of Fame. I was the third youngest to get inducted in their Hall of Fame behind some guy named Chip Foose.
Oh,
And,
I don't know if I know him, but
I think I've heard of him.
Of course, Troy from Rad Rides. So.
Yep, awesome, good company.
Yes.
The next car there is a green 53 Buick sedan. It was a Buick Special that we got cheap local and decided to build it. We took it to SEMA. That was the first car we ever took to SEMA. Small block, built an engine cover when engine covers were big back then. I can't remember what year we took that. It would have been 2000 or 2001 we took that car to SEMA, I guess. And it was built with like 17-inch American 5-spokes on it. And then we decided to take it to SEMA. We used to do a lot of stuff with Colorado Custom. My wife used to cover all their steering wheel half wraps.
Okay.
And they called and they go like, hey, we want to put 20s and 22s on a 50s car. Well, that was a big deal back then. We got the first set of 22-inch wheel hoops from Colorado Custom.
Wow.
And then after the car was painted, I had to cut and basically mini tub to make those because the offsets and everything was weird on those big hoops that they had. There wasn't much options back then.
Right.
And, it had air ride on it. My wife did the interior in it. And I really loved that car. It was really pretty simple, just a Mustang 2 and 10-bolt 4-link air ride all the way around.
Right.
And that year at SEMA, there was three cars total with 22-inch wheels on it, and they were all late models and trucks. And that was the only hot rod car with 22 on it. We did big wheels like that for a few years, working with some wheel companies. Now, I don't think you could pay me enough to put 22-inch wheels. I'm kind of over that. So
nice.
The copper car on the front, that was a 52 Buick. That's the one we've talked a little bit about. We started that for some people from, actually from the St. Louis area.
Okay.
Long sketchy story there of the people that aren't even married anymore. And that car sat for a year and a half.
Wow.
Half in primer and half rusted and bare metal, and sat outside and busted up, and we stripped it all back down to bare metal, and Hanson's bought it. I got to know Hanson's. We were touring our Purple 54 in Detroit, and we got invited that year to go to Blackie's Invitational in Fresno.
Okay.
And hung out with the Hansons while they were showing that car that won the AMBR. Well, they decided they wanted to build a custom. I was putting ads out all over the place to try to get this car sold so I can finish it. Hanson's called and said, hey, we want to build a custom. We really like you. And of course, that car just floated it all apart. I mean, we built it to be shown with me. It was up on stands with mirrors underneath of it. It's got a partial belly pan with handmade moldings. It's got a weird handmade dash with a floating pod. We took inspiration from old transistor radios and old kitchen appliances.
Wow.
And actually shaped the rear end pumpkin to match the gauges. Had a Cadillac motor. I made everything from the intake to the valve covers to the brackets to the headers. Yes. Two-barrel Demons. I had 6 of them chromed, one-off wheels that Greening's machined. That's a 52 Buick. I took a 48 Buick 4-door fastback roof.
Right.
Made it fit. The first guy wanted that big roof to be a lift-off. No matter what I could say to him, he wanted it still lift-off. I was like, man, it's such a big roof. You're going to have 12 dudes to take the roof off.
Wow,
really? When Hanson's picked it up, he's like, yeah, let's just make it weld on. So,
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, made it weld on, and
Smart
really
decision.
got to run loose, made all the moldings, cut grills, just basically threw ideas at it. The chassis was all smooth and wet sand and buff. I thrashed on that thing so hard.
Yeah.
Even on Christmas Day that year, because we were debuting it at the Roadster Show,
Right.
I spent 12 hours on my back wet sanding the bottom of the floor pan on Christmas Day. That's how much. My one friend still talks about my rotten foot because I was on my feet so much. I actually had bed sores on the bottom of my feet, and the only thing I could wear the last 2 weeks was bed slipper because my feet were so rotten from that so many hours.
Oh, my.
Wow.
I was sleeping, the last 3 weeks, I was sleeping 2.5 hours a night, 7 days a week.
That is ridiculous. I thought I worked a lot.
It's hardcore.
And that's what Southern people don't understand, too. Me and my buddy Dave, we were getting ready to, the front end's all welded on that.
Yeah.
The bottom of the inner fender wells are all smooth, wet sand and buffed. Like I say, it's just the indoor show car.
Right.
So all the inner fender wells are welded in and everything. He's just getting ready to start spraying the firewall and the inner fender wells, top and bottom. Yeah, and the firewall, all that little stuff.
Right.
It's up on the lift. Got to crawl around because you can't take it all apart. It's all molded and on.
Mm-hmm.
And the power goes out. So he's having an ice.
Wow.
So the air compressor was pumped up, and I took my little touch-up gun, and I painted and cleared all that stuff because we were on a deadline. I couldn't wait till the next day.
Right.
And I had the paint mixed up, and I didn't want to throw it away because I thought we was running low on paint to get the rest of the car painted. And I take the flashlight to my head, and I held one in my hand, and he held 2 flashlights because we couldn't have drop lights because there was no power in the building.
Right.
And we just ran out of air on the last coat of clear.
Yeah.
I didn't have to repaint it. The metallic looked beautiful by flashlights. And
Wow.
Yeah. So I painted all the engine compartment firewall by flashlights with hardly any air that night.
Dude, you are an animal. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've never, when I say I'm going to be someplace in 26 years, I've never missed the deadline.
Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah.
The little blue fleet line looks pretty hot.
Yeah, that's a cool car.
The fleet line was something, as a builder, you get a lot of tire kickers. We had a guy that wanted to build a fleet line, but he wanted to build, that was back when the electric stuff was just coming out. He wanted to do a hybrid car and take all the suburban hybrid stuff.
Right.
We had fired magazine behind it and everything like that. Well, then he just dried up, and I fell in love with the fleet line. So we just built the cheap version with a junkyard LS in it, an S10 front suspension, a 10-bolt Chevy, and hammered it on the ground, Z'd the frame, painted the bumpers. I had that thing as a roller and almost body worked when we lived in Illinois, and then it went on pause for a little bit until we started that TV show, and I found a shop down here on my downtime that I could work in a shop.
Right.
And so that was the first car that got finished and taken to SEMA once we moved to Tennessee. That was the first thing that came out of my shop. It was a personal car because I didn't have time for customer cars for that year and a half or so in the show time. At the SEMA that year. It was actually in one of the last few issues of Rod and Custom before they quit doing Rod and Custom magazine and a couple overseas magazines.
Right.
Sold it the next summer. It went to Florida or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
So had a whole bunch of custom sheet metal to cover all the ugly LS stuff that was stock and ugly, and
Right.
kind of did it kind of industrial, so everything was painted satin trim. Vinyl interior, and the inserts were made out of canvas. And my friend Jamie Jordan, which is a big deal in the metal shaping world.
I'm familiar with
Jamie
him.
he's kind of a big deal now. And I actually see him at Street Rod Nationals. He was in a booth. And he always thanks me whenever I see him, because I was the first guy to put him on TV. And, you know, kind of like that story of what that copper car did with that TV show and helping people. Well,
right.
Jamie came and was on my show, built some door panels, and he built some door panels for that thing. And now Jimmy Jordan's got his own signature tool lines. He's been on dozens of TV shows, got his own DVDs, and he'd be a good guy for you to interview sometime too.
Oh yeah, he's on our short list. That is for sure. I'm in love with that stock, the placement of that stock air cleaner assembly that's on that car. That's genius. Just where that's placed and that's stuck on there, and it's an original looking part. I know it's modified, but it's stuck on there, and it's just in a genius spot.
And it worked.
Yes. Yeah. Simple always works.
Simple always works. Yes. All right.
Carrie's Corvette.
Corvette.
Yeah, Carrie used to work in the shop every day for like 15 years. She did interior for our cars and customer cars.
Mm-hmm.
It was really pretty good when she did customer cars, because she could mock everything up as we were building it in primer stage. And
right.
Kind of got burned out when she just started doing interior for other people. Of course, the interior is the last thing, so everybody's out of money, and that's still trying to hit a deadline. And so she did that for like 15 years. She's always wanted, so this little Speed Star was hers that we built, the little yellow car.
Right.
And she wanted another car, and she always liked weird little things. She really liked Sunbeam Tigers.
Okay.
And those were a little expensive at the time, and prices are still going up. So we were just driving down the road one time talking about weird little cars. I think she likes weird little cars because she fits in them and I don't, so it'll definitely be her car. You know, she said, what about a Corvette? And I was like, oh, we can do a cool Corvette. Of course, you know, in her mind, it's a slightly lowered Corvette with some wheels and some paint on it and still stock. And me being the guy that likes to cut stuff up, this is what came out of it. This is the one, it's actually light purple.
Okay.
It's not pink. She gets upset when you call it pink.
Right.
Actually, when it was in Super Chevy, the name of the article was not pink. The T-shirt we had made, it said not pink on it.
Yep.
It's really light lavender. I basically skinned it, cut it at the pinch welds, and it's a Corvair skin, and everything in it is handmade. It's basically a street rod with a Corvair skin on it, Batman narrowed Mustang 2 cross member, polished Curry rear end, polished stainless 4-link coilover, Ride-Tech coilovers, big Willwood brakes, 11-inch narrowed 59 Impala dash, full square tube chassis. Moved the motor to the front and still keeping Corvette themed. I put a V6 in it, a Vortec V6.
Okay.
Had side draft Webers on it when it was first done, and then they were kind of a pain in the butt, so it's got a nice Holly on it.
Okay.
So it had to have an air cleaner because you just couldn't fit it all in because there was not much room to when a car's that low and have it engine clearance. So I kind of kept the 60s theme. Basically built the hood from scratch and built like a 65 Corvette Stinger.
Sure.
For it, and advanced plating that we work with. Did all the trim, the bumpers, the stainless, and everything in brushed nickel.
Right.
And then Dan Baker at Lumicraft, but actually at NSRA show, just won Manufacturer of the Year. He built the grill for us. He still laughs about the front of the car was wrecked. We paid $800 for that car. The hood had been flipped back in a wind and caved the cowl down and hit the roof and broke the windshield out. So we bought a cheap car because we were going to cut it out.
Right.
The front of the car was wrecked. And he still laughs. He calls me. He goes, I got this template. And he says the outside of it is still pretty good. The metal in the middle is all beat up. He said, it looks like it's been run over by a truck, but the box isn't damaged.
Oh, Lord.
I was like, well, the car was wrecked. I said, don't worry about in between. He's built the framework.
Yeah.
Built the dash. Then I basically built the metal around, or built the grill.
Right.
And he kind of made it kind of Impala styled. I just let him go, and he built the perfect grill because they didn't have a grill because they didn't have to let air in. So you got to let the air in when you put a motor up there.
Right.
And some magazines,
Yep.
and she actually got Ladies in Auto Sports magazine gave her the Women in Auto Sports award.
Yeah.
A few years ago at Columbus Good Guys. So that's that billet trophy.
That's awesome.
Neat.
Now a good time to talk about her real quick, what she does.
Oh, certainly.
Sure.
Certainly.
Yeah, she used to, she's been with me since the beginning. That's how her mom and her stepdad ran an awning company. So she's always around sewing. So that's how she learned.
Yeah.
When we were dating, she actually did the interior in the 54 Pro Street car because I was building that as we were dating. So the shop, when we were still in school, she was a little bit younger than me and helped me in the shop, started doing upholstery. And now for the last 5 years, she works for a company called FM3 Marketing.
Okay.
It'd be a good interview too, but sometimes her company, I don't think wants her to talk about what she does. They actually are events and marketing group that they get hired by certain companies, like Motor Trend hires them to run the Hot Rod Power Tour. They ran that for a few years. She's a head registration lady for that. Books all the logistics for that. They run both Holly LS Fest in Vegas and Bowling Green. Runs registration for that, and the logistics company also runs the Search for the Ultimate Street Card Series shootout, and that has a TV show. She kind of books logistics, but doesn't really go to many of those events. They run the Drive Autocross events. Yeah. And then their events sponsorship and marketing for Optima batteries. They run 2 semis and staff that for Optima. She handles a lot of the stuff there and marketing and sponsorship. Same thing with QA1 suspension. They run the trailer program and marketing and sponsorship for that. Right. And now they're doing the Kiriakin motorcycle rig. They're anything events, promotion, industries around motorcycles and stuff, and they're always doing other things. And they run a Cars and Cones road trip, which is about ready to sell out this year because of the Power Tour getting canceled. Right. It's a charity event that they always raise money. They always raise almost $25,000 in 7 days. They go different tours of big collections that they're going to, like George Boutique this year, and Goolsby's Hot Rod Shop, and then they autocross a few days of the week. It's kind of like a mini drag week. Okay. Fun and not competitive. They autocross like 3 of the weeks. That's what. So a lot of these events that we're at the same events, the same weekend. Sometimes with my announcing or hauling a car, we're at opposite ends of the country. Sometimes on a normal year. This year's a little crazy. Right.
Well, it sounds like she's got her hands full, man. That is that's incredible.
Yeah, she's minimum 70 hours a week. Luckily, when she everybody's works remote, so if she's not an event or going to set up an event, she's working from home with her cats.
Very nice.
So then the next car on there, we're ready to talk about the other cars.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Yeah, that I know you said that Riviera was one of 3 that was early LS swap.
Yeah, there was 2 companies at that time making wire harnesses for the LSs, and neither one that I talked to knew how to make the alternator charge, but they thought they did. They'd give you a part number, you'd go to Radio Shack and get some stuff, and then it would hopefully work, which it did. Wow. That was a 63 Rivy, bunch of metal work and smooth bottom of the hood, a lot of billet stuff from JB Microfinish, billet grills, 18 and 20 inch wheels, air ride. When Will would come out with their street 6-piston calipers, those were the second set that we got. First set went to Bobby Alloway. We got the second set, and that, let's say we did an LS in that. Nobody made different oil pans, so I had to cut the whole cross member apart, switch the spindles, make it from a rear steer to a front steer. I mean, there was so much work in that engine compartment. That was back when you get shot for magazines and they go all over the place. That summer, that car was in 6 magazines and 5 covers around the world. It was top 10 cars of the year in the German magazine. Wow. Did really well with that car. That was, we've been building cars for quite a while, but that was the car that kind of got us noticed again after the Pro Street car. Noticed in a bigger platform countrywide, I guess, was that car. The people that bought it still own it. It's in a temperature controlled marble floored collection in Akron, Ohio. Still friends with the people that own it. They got out of the collection 5 times. Once we begged them to take it to a cruise in Ohio, that we had another customer out there, and a week one time at Summit or a month at Summit in our showroom, and it just sits in the collection. Yeah, I think we started putting the LS in that about 1999, and it was out in all the magazines in 2000.
Wow. Yeah, I do remember that car hit pretty hard. I saw it everywhere. It was really good for you.
And it was a used Camaro LS motor. My wife did the interior. We had some billet stuff and, a bunch of sponsored parts on it. It really wasn't, we didn't even pull the body off the frame. It was flat black because it was low on air ride. It was just the right car with the right motor, the right details, and the right colors at the right time.
Yeah, right.
You build that car now with most of that stuff, and people will just walk right by it because everything's changed. Right. Putting these pictures together this morning, send it to you, and that's one car my wife would want back. She wants another. I have to build her another Rivy someday.
Yeah.
I like Rivies a lot.
Oh yeah,
they're cool cars.
Yeah, your wagon. I remember that thing. That was another big wheel car.
Yeah, that one was. Oh, that was early on. That was early on in our career. You could tell that's. First few years I worked out of my dad's machine shed, and that's in the shop that I built on my property that I worked in out of. I only had a 3,200 square foot shop until I moved to Tennessee.
Right.
We built that wagon. That was a 60 wagon we found down past my buddy's house, down sitting by a lake. It was a 2-door Brookwood. Really good car. Painted it pearl red. Doing a weird color with a weird clear. And this guy goes, "Yeah, it'll work." Well, then I went to put the flames on over it after painting all the like high-stage pearl on it.
Right.
And I don't remember what brands, everything I was using back then. And I think I quit using that company at that time. And it pulled something about bit into the clear.
Yeah.
And when I pulled the tape, it de-lammed, stripped that whole car with an air hose.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Clear came off. Then I stripped it and had to sand it all back down to the sealer and repaint that car. That was,
Wow.
I think that shop, all these years later, it's right down from my parents' place and my dad's place.
Yeah.
And so it still says Strange Motion on the wall. My friends with the people that actually bought the house, and
right.
There's still probably chunks of clear coat someplace that floated off still in the corner of that shop. So.
That is terrible.
And the rafters and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is terrible.
And then, I had another simple car, not a frame off car, big 18s and 20s, and it's stock brakes. So I put, those Ride Tech wheel discs on it, got a crate motor, built a sheet metal air cleaner, just up the ugly stock small block that was in it. And we won best engine at the Street Machine Nationals with that thing.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. That was a fun car. Yeah. We sold it. Local guy came in one day wearing big overalls and bought that thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next car is there, kind of a bounce back from the TV world. Sometimes we get hired to do promotional vehicles for big corporations. So that panel truck we built for Royal Purple Oil. We do a lot of stuff for Royal Purple.
Sure.
It's a really good deal. The car they had built a couple years, a couple times through the years.
Mm-hmm.
We got it. Took about a year to build it. Some bad body work. Gutted it. Fat Man chassis. It was a prototype from Batman Fabrications. They took the vehicle and used it as a prototype for that chassis they now sell. It's got Ride Tech shockwaves. They just let me run, so I wanted to do a 60s theme, kind of a Larry Watson homage panel paint that matched the colors to a Royal Purple box. Alabrand looking wheels, the GMC headlights, and fun buckets I modified from Jeff Spence. 57 Corvette grill teeth, and then it's got, should have sent you a picture, it's got a Lingenfelder 6-liter LS with the all Holley intake injection, fuel management system, and we've done the hot rod power tour with it. Weird corporate world, they don't want to hire a hot rod guy, so they worked a deal with me that I take care of it. They call, they need it to events, they have me bring it to them.
Great.
And
cool.
I get to drive it in the meantime. Pretty good. We do a lot of promotions and stuff and videos for them. Pretty good. Really divulge the whole program that we do, but pretty lucky and blessed to be able to get what we do. And we got a 5-year contract with that when we take care of it for that many years.
Great.
Nice.
That's our current get out and drive it vehicle. We just drove it back from the Street Rod Nationals. We kind of hauled it around the first year. That's what we kind of do with show cars. And then started driving it right before the Hot Rod Power Tour last year. And we just clicked over 11,000 miles coming home yesterday in it.
Nice.
Oh, very good.
Great to have a bunch of miles underneath that truck.
Yeah, and it's a full-on promo vehicle. We got a bed slide in the back, so we slide out and put oil and all of our sponsors' catalogs on the back. It's got a huge kicker stereo system in it. Being JR Dakota Digital's, it's almost 4,800 pounds, and it gets 70 mile an hour all day long. It gets almost 18 miles a gallon.
Wow.
That is incredible.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yeah, we drove from south of Nashville to Louisville, Street Rod Nationals, around to Bowling Green and home, and
Sure.
it's a tank and a half.
Wow.
Nice.
That is slick. You have that thing tuned in good.
Then the other vehicle there, that's a 68 C10 we built and took now, I guess it's been 5 years ago, we took to the SEMA show and debuted.
Okay.
That's another guy, his personal car, but another one of our sponsors is Red Cap Clothing. Got to know them through the TV show.
Sure.
That thing's got so many body mods on. It's mildly chopped, flush fit glass. I changed all the door cuts, tucked the bumpers, cut the cowl down, extended the hood back 3.5 inches, molded half the cab, reshaped the whole back of the cab, cut it loose, extended the rockers, flushed the rockers in, and extended the doors down to the bottom of the rockers like a late model truck.
Sure, right.
I widened the bed at the back, because if you look at those trucks, they taper down. So I widened the bed 1.5 inches in the back, so it's flat, straight down the side.
Right.
Extended all the metal down to the bottom of the pinch weld. If you ever lay down and look, the rockers and the bottom of the beds on them trucks don't line up, so I made all that line up.
Right.
Made a little wing on the back, 55 Chevy truck dash, 525 horse LS with a supercharged intercooled Magnuson supercharger on it, all custom engine compartment, full floors, boxed the rails, built a crazy tube frame underneath of it, polished rear end. That customer really let me go loose on that. We debuted it at the SEMA show right in the middle of the Flowmaster booth next to Ring Brothers and Rad Rides. And that year we got the Sony Gran Turismo Award for Best Truck at SEMA.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Sitting here in my kitchen, and behind me is it was on the cover of Street Trucks.
Oh, I see.
You're in there. And that's how hot rod guy I am. I have a magazine feature in my kitchen.
Yep, guy after my own heart. Great.
And he's a local guy, so I can go pick that up and take it anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's been everywhere, and won, as a vehicle at the Holly LS Fest, and won Builder's Choice at Columbus. And
Sure.
he's done very, very, very well with that. He actually was one of the cars that went and got shipped to that Saudi Arabia event
Okay.
last year after SEMA. I don't know if you guys know if you did a podcast on any of that stuff or not.
We have not talked about it because it is an oddly touchy subject that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah, well, he'll talk about it. I know enough guys that they had an amazing time. They got shipped over there.
Sure.
They shipped 300 cars. They maybe sold 20 cars.
Okay.
A lot of stuff got damaged. His got a little bit of damage that the insurance still hasn't paid on.
Okay.
Supposedly a couple cars are still missing. You ship 300 cars to the other side of the world, stuff's going to happen. I mean, I've had stuff happen when I ship stuff across the state line.
Right.
And he got his vehicle back. But the crazy thing is, everybody they shipped their vehicle over got all the expenses, hotel, flight paid, and they got $10,000 per vehicle.
Yeah, that whole situation was kind of odd and kind of too good to be true. And a lot of people
worked. I mean, they didn't sell stuff, but everybody that I know, I know 50 people that went. They said they had the most amazing time in vacation. The people were most friendly. They ate crazy foods. They got paid.
Right.
They got paid for a hot rod vacation, and just seeing all the crazy supercars over there. I don't know if they probably won't do it this year because all the stuff going on. But
right.
To build, it's like being involved in big guys events that I am and the events that my wife puts on. They put on a car show in another country that had never had anything like that.
Right.
I mean, I hear radios at the shows that I helped on, and there could literally be somebody pulling a gun on somebody over a parking spot here, or, somebody's complaining because they don't have a shade tree. They built a whole facility in the middle of the desert in a country that never had anything and pulled it off.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, it's just a mind-blowing, the logistics of.
Right.
They built the whole facility in like 7 months.
Specifically for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
The king gave his son $300-some million to put the event on.
Wow. That is that's incredible. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. Oh, there's a young Tim Strange.
Yeah. There's a 51 DeSoto that I built. I was still working out of my dad's machine sheds. That was the first few years being on my own.
Yeah.
Like I say, I had like a 35 by 40 in the corner that I worked on customer cars. And this was Illinois. It was my dad's machine shed. And out beside his tractors was my chassis table where there was no heat. And I built that chassis table in Illinois winter with insulated coveralls on and a NIPCO salamander heater shooting on me so I didn't freeze.
Always what I wanted to ask you, and I don't think I ever have throughout the conversations we've had. What in the hell made you put a Chrysler LHS roof on that car?
Because somebody told me I couldn't.
Okay. Good enough answer.
I just wanted to build kind of a modern custom.
Right.
And it worked, but would I do it again? Probably not. I had to widen the top 11, 12 inches to make it fit and stretch it. We went to Minnesota to a friend Al found one in a junkyard. They were brand new cars at that time. And I cut it up and put that on that. That thing had a 128 and 3/4 inch wheelbase. So So I had room to put the blower out in the front, kind of like an old pop-in setup.
Right.
It had, it was one of those era cars at that time. You just look at that car in a magazine, it's like, oh yeah, that was built in the mid '90s.
Yep.
The colors, the stripes, the wheels that had Taurus headlights and a late model Chrysler roof, and but that was a twin rail round tube chassis, and that was another one I built all the A arms and everything. I was probably 23 years old in that picture.
Wow.
And that car was 1997. It was top 5 finalists for Customer of the Year in Des Moines for Good Guys.
Cool. What rear window was ended up in that? Is that plexiglass or is that a?
No, that's the LHS. You can see the third brake light kind of there.
Yeah.
And the heat defroster for the back window. That's the LHS back roof. The windshield. So that was a 51 DeSoto that had a 2-piece windshield in it. I bought a 54 Chrysler for a parts car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an uncut 1-piece curved 54 Chrysler front windshield that was kind of there for a while. I didn't have a good glass guy, and same thing as that 52 Buick. I would, and my 54 Chevy, I would move the windshield forward, get rid of the cowl, drop it down, and lean it back because I couldn't get anybody to cut a windshield. So those 3 cars had uncut windshields, so the window gets cracked, and you go get a stock glass.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Something. It's kind of a workaround.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the Falcon there was an incredible build too.
Yeah, that was that's the one that we took to SEMA with no wiring harness in it because we had some sponsors that said it needed to be there.
Right.
And that guy let me run loose. Pretty good on it. My wife just turned the lights on. Falcon, basically a little bitty Mustang, unibody. So I cut it all loose. Built a monocoque substructure floor. This thing had more sheet metal in it than anything I've ever redone.
Right.
So I built a 1/2 by inch rectangular tubing substructure that all the body mounts and everything and seat mounts were all hidden down into.
Okay.
And then smooth sheet metal top and bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Body worked it, smoothed it, everything. Tri-rail, round tube chassis, all that chassis. Every weld seam was ground, body work, smoothed. No exposed welds still on the chassis, the bottom of the floor, anything. And then I guess I didn't send you a picture. I had a Mustang SVT motor that it was a test motor. We actually got Ford Racing sponsored that build. We got a motor from SVT Ford program.
Sure.
With intercooled Pro Charger on it, quick change rear end, tubular A-arms, crazy dash, built-in roll cage, lots of crazy kind of industrial theme.
Right.
Everything kind of had exposed a machined lug with a Allen bolt recessed in it. So it had exposed lug bolts that bolted the bumpers and everything on. Whole front clip was welded on it. That was a car that it was right around 9/11 when we were building that car. And then to finish it up after SEMA to actually start driving it, the guy's business just tanked because he did a bunch of stuff overseas.
Right.
It sat in my shop 3.5 years unfinished with no wiring, no brakes, no nothing on it.
Wow.
And then a buddy worked a deal on it, got it for pennies on the dollar. I should have bought it, but I was tired of it being in my shop. We blew it apart.
Right.
Changed the color on the chassis because the chassis was actually the same color as the floor when it was first put together.
Okay.
And re-debuted it. Took it. I think he showed it at Detroit and Columbus and one other place, and actually ended up. The guys bought it in St. Louis there. The guys that do the speed, this is the New Black show when they were just kind of a consignment shop.
Yep. I remember seeing that vehicle here in St. Louis.
Yeah, they bought it, and the guy that owned the car didn't put door remotes in it, and he told him when he dropped it off, hey, don't lock the windows or don't lock the wing vents. So they called, handed off to one guy, called. It's a funny story. They called a couple weeks later and said, hey, man, we need the key fob for that. We locked the keys in it. He said, let me guess, you locked the wing vents too. He said, you're going to have to break the window. So they had to break the window out to get in.
Yep.
So then they had to redo, some paint. And I think that thing we put, customer let me put plaid interior.
Okay.
Plaid inserts in it.
Yep.
Now plaid's kind of a thing. You can get stuff from interior kits and everything.
Right.
And because they bought it to flip it or consign it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they sold it someplace in California, and they took all the plaid out of it. I do remember that. They sent me some pictures. I know those guys now. So
Yeah.
they bought it. I doubled their money, but they gave my guy what he wanted for it. So
sure,
yeah,
man. Well, it's sure sounds like you had your hands in a whole lot of cars throughout the years.
some incredible stories
yeah,
for sure.
I really feel old looking at all this stuff, man.
It's hard to go back through and look at all the things that you've done throughout the years when you gather it all together and you get it in one place, and your 70 and 100-hour weeks kind of catch up to you after a while. You've got quite a career.
Yeah, I would love it. I'm very lucky with a bunch of sponsors. If I could get like a leave sponsorship or something like that,
yes,
that would be really good. That would be awesome.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, I've got here your Facebook. You're available at Tim Strange 101 and under Instagram as at Rod Builder. And Instagram also at Strange Motion Rod and Custom. Website is www.strangemotion.com. Twitter is at Strange Motion.
No, I guess my wife sent you this. I don't think I have. I don't use the Twitter. I don't think. So.
And your YouTube channel shows Strange Motion Rod and Custom. In case any of our listeners and viewers for YouTube.
Yeah, you can usually find YouTube too if you search the Strange Motion Way. That's kind of our hashtag tagline, and that'll take you to there also on YouTube.
All right.
Great. Well, it's been incredible talking with you today and learning a lot about your cars and the history of Strange Motion. So awesome.
Yeah. Fantastic interview. Thanks for being with us.
Yep.
I appreciate you guys taking the time and actually wanting to listen to what I had to talk about.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hey, Tim, what drives you?
Well, I've always wanted to build hot rods my entire life, and I'm blessed that I get to do that. And I work hard every day to pay homage to the guys that built the path before me and hope to continue on for many years.
Whew, man, that was one heck of an interview.
Yes, it was.
Yep. He has built more cars than I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That guy is an animal.
Yes, he is. Yeah, just car after car.
Yeah, car after car. He has built quite a few cars. One of our best interviews yet, I'd have to say.
Yep.
Excellent.
I'd agree.
I had a great time.
Yes, me too. Speaking of car after car, next episode we're going to be interviewing Jake, who is the organizer for the Jeffco Power Tour here in St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
Last year, I don't know, they had several hundred cars that come out for
somebody said almost 500 cars.
I've heard 500. I've
heard a bunch of different numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what there ever was an official
It's the
car
exhaust
count.
fumes. People can't count.
But it was a lot of cars, a lot of mix, a lot of old cars, a lot of late model stuff, older people, younger people. I mean, it's just a
big crowd.
Good mix. This year is the 10th year for this event.
Sure.
And Jake has been in charge of it for the last 3, I believe.
I think it was 3.
And we'll find out more about him and how he got into this and doing all of this and everything on the next episode. So
great. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
Awesome. I am John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer. You can follow me at Custom Car Nerd on Instagram.
And I'm Shawn, Mr. Sedan Man Sherrill. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Sedan Man. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, share, give us your comments. Tag us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.
What drives you?